Good afternoon, God is love. Hope everybody's excited about the weekend. It's always great to have some time off after a hard week. For those of you that have to work this weekend, sorry about that. I'm sure you got a great reason to be there. I respect you for having an honest living and giving it the commitment you need to do to take care of your families and your obligations. So, I briefly wanted to talk about depression. And what the motivation was behind this is just going through my wall today in my timeline feed. I saw at least two people state that they're really dealing with depression. One is a pretty close friend of mine, and another one was this guy that I knew through Facebook. He's a young kid. He's only 17. And just to give you an idea of how powerful depression can be, in a negative way is, both of them were just kind of lightheartedly saying, I wish my life would be over. I wish I wouldn't have to deal with this stuff anymore. Depression is serious. I think it was only till recently that society openly acknowledged depression as a real disease. I think we were especially slow to recognize mental illness. I think for a long time, it was viewed as, just something in your head, not a legitimate disease. Hey, Deb, glad you're here. And, I think it was viewed as, not something that we should really struggle with, something we should just get over. And that's really not the case. My parents growing up, they did their best. I suffered with depression. I still take medication now for anxiety and stuff like that. It's a real thing. I think for a while they thought it was, just Satan trying to play with my mind or something like that. But it's, they didn't understand it because it was still kind of a taboo thing in their generation. But we've really discovered now that it's a serious thing. And really the worst outcome of depression is that people will hurt themselves physically. They'll either cut themselves or hit themselves or starve themselves, not eat. And in the worst cases, they'll kill themselves. And that's why we need to take depression seriously. So for years, I struggled with it. And I tried everything. At first, before putting my faith in God, I tried to go to doctors. I tried to put my faith in medicine. So I didn't know anything about antidepressants. I didn't know the difference between generic meds versus designer drugs. So I pretty much went to a doctor and said, look, here's what I'm struggling with. I trust your judgment. Give me whatever you want to give me. And it really was a roller coaster ride. A lot of stuff made me worse than I was before. And you'll notice a lot of these drugs, they use patients as basically to experiment and see long term if the drug can be usable or not. And a lot of these pharmaceutical companies will enter in agreements with doctors so they get kickbacks for prescribing their medications. So in my experience, if you do have to get on meds, I say always go generic. They're also a lot cheaper than any of the other stuff out there. But all meds aside, what really made me better, you can take pills and it'll turn you into a zombie, but it's not going to make you happy. It's just going to numb you. And a lot of times you go throughout the day just going through a routine and not really trying to be happy or not trying to deal with the problems that are causing you to be depressed in the first place. And what really allowed me to finally do that was when my manager at the company I work for recommended this Christian counselor. So he had a background in counseling. He's completely certified, went to school for it. But how he was different was that he was a Christian counselor. So all of his methods involved focusing on God and focusing on the Word and not trying to use science to explain what our soul really needs. You can shove pills down someone's throat. You can go to some psychiatrist that's just going to tell you on paper what your problem is. They'll give you breathing exercises. They'll give you 10-step things to try to calm yourself down. But really the only thing that ever fixed me, and really fixed me, was when I got in touch with that Christian counselor. Something that stuck with me is when I was talking to clinical therapists, they would never give me their cell phone number. They would never talk to me after hours. Everything I had to do was charged to every dollar, to every cent. And they said that, well, it's official policy that we can't hang out with you while we're counseling you because that violates our rules and we have to keep that distance between doctor and patient. Well, the Christian counselor, I'd say a couple months after talking to him and getting to know him and going to sessions regularly, he invited me over to have dinner with him and his family, and he's done that on more than one occasion. And, I still talk to him every now and then. He's not just a counselor, he's a friend. And, my advice is that really the only way you're going to get over depression, and it's something you need to get over. You're always going to have it in your life. It's always going to pop up every now and then. But if you allow it to take a foothold in your life, you're going to view every day as a struggle. You're going to view every day as something that you have to survive. And that's not how you should view life. That's not how you should want to get up each day. You should be excited that the Lord's blessed you with another day on this earth. And really the only way to reach that point is to focus on God. I put my faith in science. I put my faith in medicine. And for years, it just made me worse. Only until I put my full faith in God and found a counselor that was Christian and used Christian methods was I able to truly overcome the issues that have plagued me for years. So that's my advice to you. Clearly, if you're super depressed, you do need to talk to somebody. And I hope that you keep God in that conversation. So whether it be a minister, whether it be somebody at your church, whether it be a Christian counselor, whether it be a friend or family member that really has a great relationship with God, you've got to have that element. I promise you. That's the only way you're going to feel happy again. And, I got my notes up here on the screen, so I'm going to read a couple verses to close. The first is from the book of Psalms. This is chapter 40, verse 1 through 3. Verse 1 says, I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. Verse 2, he lifted me out of the slimy pit, which in my mind is depression, out of the mud and the mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. Verse 3, he put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see and fear the Lord and put their trust in him. So there is strength in the Lord. That's the only way that you're going to feel stronger, I promise you. No magic pill is going to take all your problems away. At first I thought that's what I needed to do. A lot of times I self-medicated through alcohol and other things. I wasn't proud of that, but really the only way I felt happy is when I put my trust in the Lord. And I'm going to close with one more verse. It's 1 Peter 5, 6 through 7. Humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time. Cast all your anxiety on him, because he cares for you. God does love you. He does care about you. He does want you to be happy. He does want you to live a happy and full life. He does want you to be excited about getting up every day. And a lot of times these struggles that we face are going to be used later down the road when we overcome them so we can help others. So when you go through depression, just know that God's with you. Know that this group's with you. Know that I'm with you. Know that we're praying for you. If you ever need an unspoken prayer request, just let us know. If you want to message me personally, please feel free to. But you're not alone. And, a lot of times if people fail you, I promise you that God never will. So put your faith in him. There is a light at the end of things. There are better days ahead. Please don't give up hope. Please remain positive. Please find strength. And please know that with the Lord, you can accomplish anything and overcome anything. God bless, and I hope everybody has a great evening.